Hey, this is Craig the Pool Man with Pool Specialist. Today we have a short video for you on a product that's called Level Smart. This is a water leveling system, autofill for your pool as you may call it. And we're going to explain to you how this all works, how to set it up, how to pair it, and how to calibrate it for the proper water level. Okay, we have unboxed our Level Smart autofill system. And let's go over some of the items in that box. First of all, you have a instruction card with step 1 through step 6. We've also put this on the website so that you can download it as a PDF. This is actually excellent. It is much, much better than the old instructions that they had in the older units. So keep that handy. Then we're going to talk about the autofill valve itself. This is a 1-inch valve. That's pretty standard. If you need to replace it, you can go to Lowe's, Home Depot, buy a Rainbird. It's just a regular irrigation valve. Note on it that there's an arrow. So this is the tail of the arrow. This is the front of the arrow. That means that the water must flow in this direction. So this part is going to be connected to your pool. This part is going to be connected to your hose or whatever supply you actually have going for you on that. Okay, so this device up top is called the solenoid, and this is going to tie into your actual automation controller that comes with the unit. Now, this solenoid, if I want to bypass it, it allows me to turn this a quarter turn counterclockwise, and then that will allow the water to come through the valve. So we can use it as a bypass. So example is, well, I'm going to have to backwash the pool. I need to add a bunch of water to it. And so I'm going to add the water while I'm servicing it. Now, what we highly recommend with our service technicians is that they take their truck keys and they put them on this solenoid valve. That way, they cannot drive away and leave this on to flood somebody's backyard or overfill the pool. So they'll come here and then they will turn it a quarter turn or until it's tight clockwise. And then once it's in a clockwise position, then the water will stop flowing through this. So this is our autofill valve. That's kind of the heart of our system. Here we have our controller, and this is excellent. I love the way that this is set up. You get a power supply. It's very easy to plug this power supply into an outlet, and then there's a simple little plug that you can plug into this power supply. It's a 2-prong plug. This is AC, so it doesn't really matter whether I go in either direction. Plug it in, and you'll see that this will sequence. When you open it out of the box, it's going to sequence like that. So green to yellow to red. That means that it's in pairing mode. I have my antenna. My antenna connects to here, and it just screws in. If I need to go a longer distance, they supply you with a coaxial cable to connect this controller to this antenna. And you could probably go up to about 200 feet with coaxial cable for this antenna to work correctly. So it gives you a lot of flexibility, and this is by far the best wireless controller out there because of that feature and many others. So now that I'm ready to go, here's my sensor. My sensor comes with a little magnet on it, and that magnet actually shuts it off. So when I want to pair it, what I do is I will go ahead and I will remove that magnet. So when I remove that magnet, and you may not be able to see it, but there's a green light here that's going to flash 3 times. Once that flashes 3 times, then my yellow light is going to flash. This yellow light is going to flash for about 2.5, 3 minutes. So we're going to come back in a minute, and once this is paired up, and show you what it looks like. Okay, so we're back, and you'll see that our light is now green, telling us that the sensor is connected. So the next thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to mount this sensor. And I prefer to pair it before it's mounted. It makes it a little bit easier because you can see what's going on. and as long as you have a clear shot from this sensor to this antenna, it'll work just fine. You will not have any issues. The range on it's pretty good. So I have a thing of water, and we're going to use that for actually setting our level. Now, it's very important that when you put this in, that you're actually going to get it from about 1/2 inch up to about 1.5 inches up. So you're going to be somewhere in this range. So if you actually have a vinyl liner pool, I highly recommend that you go on the skimmer faceplate. This is of course the beauty plate, as they call it, that hides the screws and everything else. And if our water level is halfway up it, then of course we want to be in the sweet spot right in the middle between 1/2 inch and 1.5 inches. And what I would do is I actually epoxy it to this faceplate. So they give you some epoxy with this, which works extremely well. You may want to sand this a little bit to make it a little bit rougher, sand the back of this. That would allow the epoxy to adhere a little bit better. If you're going into a fiberglass pool, again, you can use the epoxy. That works just fine on fiberglass. It does not work well on tile. So if you notice, there's 2 little screw holes here. So my recommendation, what we do, is we take a number 6 screw by 1.5 inches, one on this side, one on that side, and we then drill into the grout and drill into the tile to set this. And so that way it doesn't fall off. Because if you epoxy it to the tile, then what happens is somebody grabs it, it falls off, winds up in the bottom of the pool, gets thrown out, and these sensors really are not replaceable. They're extremely expensive. So you want to make sure that it's very, very permanent. So we have our little water sample here, and hopefully you can see that the water is up about 3/4 of an inch on this. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this magnet, and exactly where it was when we open this up, we're going to place that there for a period of about 5 seconds. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now that we have that level set, we're going to remove that. And once we remove it, you're going to notice that the green light on the sensor is going to flash for a while, and then once it becomes solid again, we know that it's all set. Now, the thing about this is this has a timer in it. The actual sending unit, or the sensor, sends a signal every 30 minutes. And then at 30-minute mark, this is going to receive it, and then it will turn on that autofill valve for a period of 7 minutes. For us, 7 minutes doesn't work well with our pools. So we tend to go back to the company and we order special ones that can last 15 to 20 minutes. And our philosophy on that is the control valve actually has a little spigot on it right up here. And if you turn that clockwise, you will reduce the flow through the valve. If you turn it counterclockwise, you will increase the flow through the valve. So that's just like the spigot, right, handle that you would have on your hose bit. So therefore, we tend to like to have these turn on for a little bit longer. So now this sensor is there, and of course you can see the green light is solid, which means that it's paired, it's ready to go. And then what's going to happen is in 30 minutes it's going to turn this valve on for 7 minutes. But if you want to check it and make sure that it actually is functioning and not wait for the time, then you could actually put the magnet next to it. But in this case, it actually did take it, and here we are, we're running it. It's going to run for a period of 7 minutes. So we'll go ahead and wait out that 7 minutes, and then we'll go ahead and show you how you can bypass that to turn the valve on for about 3 seconds. So we're back after our 7 minutes, and you'll notice that the action light has shut off, which means that the valve has shut off, and there's no longer water flowing out of this valve. Now, if we would like to turn this valve on for a couple seconds to actually test it, they made a very convenient way that you can do that. You take your magnet, you put it in the lower left-hand corner for a couple seconds, you take it off, and the valve turns on for a few seconds, and then of course shuts off. Now the other thing I was showing you with this valve is that this solenoid is basically a bypass. So if I turn it a quarter turn counterclockwise, you'll notice that the water will come on. And then if I tighten it all the way back to its original position clockwise, then the water shuts off. So that's how this autofill valve works. Now, imagine you get to your work site and you find out that your sensor is no longer correctly paired to your control box. So very simple the way to do this. The first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to remove power from this control box. Then you're going to take your sensor or your magnet and you're going to put it on there. You're going to turn your power back on and you'll see the lights come on. You're going to wait roughly 15 to 20 seconds. And then when you remove this button, you'll see that it'll go through that sequence that you originally saw. And then of course, then you've got to go back to your sensor, put your magnet down here, wait roughly 5 seconds, and then you can remove that. And when you remove it, you'll see this light blink a few times, and now all of a sudden we're back to our pairing mode. So that light of course is now going to blink for about 2.5 minutes, and then once it's happy it will go back to the sensor light. Now if this is in the water, you're good. Then you're paired and your water level is set. But if it is not, then what you're going to have to do is come in here, and after that is paired up correctly and you're ready to rock and roll, then you're going to have to take this magnet and you're going to have to put it in the lower left-hand corner and lower right-hand corner as you're looking at it. You put it there for a couple seconds and now your water level will be set. That's as easy as it gets. You want to stay tuned, and I'm going to take apart one of these autofill valves to show you a typical failure mechanism inside of it. It is not uncommon to show up and find that one of these valves is stuck on. And it doesn't mean that the valve is bad. Typically it means that it just got a bunch of trash in it. So a very important part of the process of installing this is that whatever water source you're going to connect to this, to make sure that you flush it. And you want to flush it for probably 30 seconds to a minute. Make sure you get all the debris out of it, the water's coming out clear, there's nothing in it. If you want to go a step farther, it's not a bad idea to put a filter in front of it, because that could possibly save you a lot of money in the long run. So all you have to do is remove these 4 screws that are on the top of it, and then pull it apart. And once you pull it apart, you'll see that there's a spring inside here, and that spring actually goes on the center piece right here. And now you find you have a rubber piece, and what you want to do is remove this rubber piece. Just pull it out, and a lot of times this little white piece will come out with it. And then look at the bottom here, and you'll see that there's a whole bunch of debris, and this is the seal on the bottom that's stopping that valve from closing or preventing it from closing. So all that debris on there, all the debris in here. So you're going to have to rinse this whole valve out, and once you clean it out, then you can put it back together and the valve will function just fine. So a lot of times it's as simple as taking this valve apart. Saves you a lot of time and a lot of money from trying to replace this, particularly if whoever installed this valve did not use unions on each side. And so now you've got to cut pipe and put new pipe in and glue it, or use PEX, whatever it was there originally. But typically that can be very time consuming and cumbersome because you don't know what they use to plumb it in most times, especially if it's in the ground. So this is a nice little trick. It's easy to do, easy to check. Sometimes if the valve doesn't open, chances are it's this solenoid. And many times you can just go ahead and buy a new solenoid or grab one from another existing unit, because sometimes these short out and sometimes they open up. So that's how to fix these valves and make them functional again. Thanks for watching our video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please drop us a like and have a great day.